Wait until our two additional members get seated, but we'll go live. All right. We'll get started with the September 4th, 2024 meeting here. We're waiting on two additional board members that have committed to be present. I think we should just wait until at least one more is seated. There's Paula. Closer. Good evening.
It is actually fine. Nice to see you.
And Jeff were questionable.
Oh, said she'd be late. It's really Amanda. It's our
Right.
best hope. Oh, there she is. I won't even wait for this. It's start.
All right, we'll get started, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you all. This is the September 4th, 2024 meeting of the City of Charleston Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design. Present are Amanda Bart, Kelvin Yuji, Paula Summers, myself, Joel Adrian. Present from planning staff, Eric Schultz and Lee Batchelder. These proceedings are being recorded. We ask that those who speak identify themselves for the record. We will conduct this meeting in usual fashion. We'll first receive information from city staff about the application and their recommendation. If the recommendation is favorable and no one objects to the application, the matter is uncontested. The board reserves the right to ask questions of staff, applicant, or others in attendance prior to rendering a decision. If, however, the city recommends against the application or there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested, hear from the applicant and anyone else who is in favor of the application. Next, we hear from anyone who is opposed, followed by a short rebuttal from the applicant. We then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application and open discussion for the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve with conditions, deny, or defer the application. Board of Zoning Appeals and Site Design has the authority to do three things. One, hear appeals to decisions of the zoning administrator. Two, grant special exceptions, a fact-finding function of the board. And three, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54.924 of the ordinance. The board may deliberate and make a final decision on a matter by a majority vote of members present at the hearing and qualified vote, provided that not less than a quorum are present qualified to vote. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Zoning Appeals must make the following findings. A, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance will not be a substantial detriment to the adjacent property or to the public good. The character of the district not be harmed by the granting of the variance. So after that, it does not look like we have any items deferred.
Actually, we have item A4, 12 Broughton Road has been withdrawn. And then under the B item, B2 has been deferred.
I'm correct, thank you, Eric. So if you were here for either of those applications, they will not be heard today. So our first item on our agenda will be item A1, which is review of the minutes for the June 5th, 2024 meeting.
Right, so we're still trying to catch up with February 7th, and without Ruthie here, we can't vote on that. So we'll have to
When she
defer
shows
that
up.
until she shows up. However, June 5th, I got out a numbering sequence here, so it's A1A. Joel, Amanda, and again Ruthie will have to wait till she arrives to vote on that one. So we'll move right into the items.
All right, so then we'll go to A2, which is 3030 Maybank Highway. On Johns Island, the TMS numbers are 313-00-00-004, 006, and 234. It is zone DR 12. It's a request of variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 3 grand trees. A request of variance from section 54-327 to omit the 15 protected trees per acre requirement. Request a variance from section 54-330 to allow a reduced impervious construction setback for the bases of 11 grand trees. Eric?
Yes, so I have to state that we'll amend the request. After visiting the site, there was some discoveries made, and the city asked the applicant to do a little further work. So I'll explain both. So with reworking the site plan, the request for a variance to remove 3 grand trees is basically downgraded to a special exception. 3 trees requiring a special exception, so that's a fact-finding function of the board.
Okay.
The request to omit the 15 trees per acre is going to be withdrawn or omitted because we had them go into forested wetlands, which are going to be protected, and sample a couple plots, and they've come back with numbers that the site will meet the 15 trees per acre requirement post-development. And then they tweaked the site plan at staff request. I'll visit this one just a little bit in my discussion, but technically with the protection zone shown as required by the diameter of the trees, they are not encroaching into any grand tree at this point in time. So with that said, it is zoned. Here's the application. That was, by the way, the original application from months ago. Their variance request now really special exception. I'll explain that a little bit. So we're dealing with 3 lots that will be combined to form 1 lot of record and do a multifamily project on it, zone DR 12. Typical, maybe not atypical, but deep lots off of Maybank Highway. Presently, a homestead on it, a couple other structures, openness in the front area, and then you can see the wetland, the very heavily forested canopied area to the rear. Again, they picked up every protected tree and grand tree in high ground, but we had them go into the forested wetlands. So this is your basic layout. 75-foot landscape buffer on Maybank Highway, single means of access. The city has been encouraging properties on this side of Maybank, I call it the north side, to provide either a street and or a 50-foot public access easement to create our grid that will provide cross access across the island, east-west. So alley C, if you will be that. So they worked with the city to provide that with the necessary stub outs, if you will, to the east and west. And then, of course, you can see the configuration of the attached product with the smattering of grand trees on the interior block. And then the heavy dark lines are wells, tree wells. I'll touch on that a little bit. But, otherwise, all private drives and attached residential product. Here's the 3 water oaks that are overlaid on the site plan. They've shifted out of live oaks and other category 1 and 2 trees. Broke up their units. And you can see the protected trees that are being removed, but again, there's plenty in the wetlands and around the perimeter. This is a little bit of a close-up. So we have a 25-inch water oak grade C, a double water oak 13-14 grade C, and then a 31 water oak grade C. These are the photos provided by the applicant. Natural directions letter. So the 26-inch water oak, probably the best of the three, but it is in a building or very near a road. This is the tree of discovery that the city came upon near Live Oak. So they missed it as a sweet gum, but it is a 31-inch water oak, which drove some of the design changes. And then the double water oak further back in the property again in a building. So I want to just touch base on the wells are shown to be outside of the heavy dark line as you see around the two live oaks with that I don't know if it's a peanut shape, but the pond that's kind of L-shaped. So the city's concerned about fill and the long-term health of trees. We'll have to deal with the three that are more interior along the road, but I do have some concerns about this one. So the city is going to use this exhibit as a recommendation that the green area should remain at grade. There should be no berms and or cut between the two groups along Maybank and the double. And I'll show you those trees. I feel there's some space to gain some stormwater capacity and reroute pipes. This is the area looking, the photo top left is between the two trees in my back. So this red line would represent some kind of a cut or some fill placed in there to create a pond. And then further back in the property, looking again back toward the residential, where you have the really nice grouping of live oaks. And these are two fine looking live oaks. And I just can't support putting them in a well. So hence the that graphic. So staff recommends approval with the following conditions: to plant 42 caliber inches of native canopy trees. Again, these are category 3 water oaks, so it's 50% of the DBH inches lost, so it's 42. Must use 4-foot chain link fence as tree protection barricades. Must have a certified arborist prune and treat the grand trees to be preserved. Must plant a percentage of the mitigation trees as the next generation of live oaks in the Maybank Highway buffer. Must eliminate the proposed cut and or fill in the area depicted on the city slide. Must maintain the green area at grade for long-term health of the existing live oaks, and must provide a landscape plan for staff review and approval. And before you get started, I just want to note that we did receive one written comment. The written comment is in front of you, submitted. I'll let the chair read that.
So yeah, it's from Peter Abuno, 3009 Tugalos Street, Johns Island. Submitted September 2nd, 2024. It says, if we don't allow grand trees to be removed to improve transportation and traffic on Johns Island, why would we let a developer cut down grand trees to build more houses, which will further impact traffic on the island? This developer want to remove 3 grand trees, omit the 15 protected trees per acre requirement, which means what? Cut down more trees and allow a reduced impervious construction setback from the bases of 11 grand trees, which would result in their death in a few years. This doesn't sound like a smart decision to make. Impact trees that assist with water retention, provide O2, add more houses, more cars, more traffic. I'm against approval of these variance requests. All right, so with that, is the applicant present?
John McMillan with Thompson.
Do you want to add to the presentation?
No, just here to answer any questions.
Very good. Is there anybody, I should have asked first, is there anybody present that's opposed other than Peter? Okay. Is there anybody else present that's in favor that would like to be heard? Then we'll close the application to the public. We'll open it to the board for questions.
So we don't have any encroachments anymore.
That is correct. They shifted, technically no encroachments into the circle shown as the protection zones.
Okay.
Some very close, but
Yeah, and then you recounted, so really the only thing we're dealing with is the three.
that's
Special
correct. That's a special exception versus a variance due to the species.
And that included the 12.5, 14.7 water road, correct?
yes, that's, so this,
The one that has the bad form at the
Right.
base.
this is the 26-inch oak, which is on the alley B. Then the other two, the double is the one further back into the property. Oh, sorry, that's the double. Then one that was discovered as it was picked up as a sweet gum. That's again in that. Alley A, I guess, right there in the road. Or drive.
I feel like, the application is very different because it's just a special exception for those three water oak trees. Everything else that was initially requested has been addressed.
Okay.
Special exception, I think that offers, they've shown that we should be able to approve that.
Yeah, so Mr. Rubino is not here, right?
No,
He wrote in, but the majority of his concerns have been addressed.
right.
Well, for sure, that one, I know it was greater than the C. I would have put it worse than that one double tree. But I think they did a lot of good work on working that out and doing that front area all at grade. That makes a big difference.
Well, as shown, it shows a well, so there's fill around those two trees, but I'm suggesting as a condition.
Yeah.
That
That goes away.
the green area is
And you-
off limits to
You added
fill.
that into the written conditions.
That's correct.
Yes. Okay.
Eric, are you comfortable with the tree wells on the other three trees?
Well, the
Interior
the
design.
benefit that we have there, and of course, we'll work very closely with the engineer and the arborist, but we do have the ability to get a yard inlet and increase those wells to the plan north, if you will. So maybe we get more accurate area to the north of those trees, and then the yard inlet could drain right to that center pond.
Hmm.
So I'm hopeful.
Did we?
And the species is live oak and a better species to tolerate the impact.
Did you? Can you put the conditions back up? Because I think Mike Russell had some good points. In his letter about, he was very specific about the maintenance.
Mhm.
Can we go back to that? I'm sorry.
The letter?
Yeah.
If you add in as a condition that the.
Paragraph 3,
You may.
3 of natural directions letter. Be explored and presented to staff, doesn't need to come back to us or anything. I make a motion, we move to approve the staff recommendations, adding that they explore solutions suggested in paragraph 3 of natural directions letter, and that can be done at staff level with Eric. That would be condition number 7.
Very good. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Ms. Amanda, seconded by Paula. All in favor of the motion, or is there discussion, any questions on the? Okay.
Do I need to abstain?
Yeah, you're not part of it.
Oh.
All in favor of the motion, say aye in favor.
I in favor.
Aye in favor. Any opposed? Opposed, it's approved 4-0. Thank you. Now I will say that Ruthie Ravenel is now present at the meeting, and we can probably go back to items A1 and A1A.
So we have okay.
My agenda, executive, so February meeting.
February 7th, we had Joel, Amanda, no, Jeff Webb's not here. So we can't address February 7th, but we can do June 5th.
Okay, we're gonna go to item A1A, I guess, which is review of the minutes from June 5th, 2024. Anybody has any concerns, let us know. If not, is there a motion for approval?
I'll move to approve.
Or a second? Good. All right, so motion for approval by Ruthie, seconded by Calvin. All in favor of that motion?
I in favor.
I in favor, any opposed? Motion carries. Hey, we got one. Approved. And Paul abstain. Paula abstained because she wasn't here.
She wasn't there, right?
Okay. Excellent. So now we will go on to item A3. Correct.
Before we get started, you can read it, but Mr. Van Atkins is the applicant. And I spoke to him and told him yesterday that the meeting was today at 5. I don't see him present. So I think we'll just, if he doesn't show up, we can skip over this one and come back to it.
Let's do that. We'll
Because
just,
we had a conversation yesterday.
Is anyone here for it at all? I don't think so.
I don't think anybody's here. I think they're all applicants.
so then we're gonna go to A5.
A5.
A4 was withdrawn, so we're gonna go to A5. Is 1776 William Kennedy Drive, West Ashley, the TMS number 353-1300004 is zoned SR1. Requested variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 1 grand tree. Request a special exception from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 1 grand tree. And request a variance from section 54-327 to omit the 15 protected trees per acre requirement. There's-
Okay, 1776 William Kennedy Drive, West Ashley. This will be amended to omit or strike, withdraw the variance. Oh, I already did it here, but on the application because that tree is a staff level F after site visit, and I'll show it to you. So we're dealing with 1 special exception and then the 15 trees per acre requirement. So I did amend the slide here. This is the application. So we're dealing with the SR1 zone site right here in the middle, bound by William Kennedy and a little bit of Boone Hall Drive. This is, I guess, what's known throughout the community as Middleton or Middleton Middle School or high school, whatever it might have been in the past, but Middleton High. Anyway, it's scheduled to be demolished and a new school brought up to today's standards built, but they have to build the school in the track and field area, maintain students in the old school, and then once they occupy the new school, they'll demolish that school and build the required parking and new bus loops and car drop off. So complicated. This is a view from William Kennedy. There is 1 tree here. I'm not really going to get into this, but after my site visit, there's 3 of these trees that are water oaks and laurel oaks that need to come down immediately. The red oak to the right is, and they weren't scheduled to be, they're not on the application, but they are full of very huge cavities, and it's amazing. They're still standing with vehicles and cars. But anyway, that's a view from, there's the, I guess the northern half of the property survey, the southern half. Again, trees around the perimeter that abuts some ozone critical area. And then the little piece, the little L shape out to Boone Hall. Now in that corner, there's some really fine live oaks. Not concerned about them. You can see where that little jug handle loop goes through. There's some pretty serious hazardous trees right there. So here we have some trees highlighted. So the birch is an F. It's just the top's blown out of it. It's got dieback. The 27-inch red mulberry is a pretty decent mulberry. You'll see in just a minute. It's a category 4, so it's a special exception. Protected trees. You can see a few. We got some tallow popcorn trees I'm not too concerned about, some gums, but based on the acreage, they can't meet their 15 trees per acre requirement. The hickory out front is an F, has a big hole in the base, plus it's a double leader. Then the birch. You got crepe myrtles and palms, which will be relocated. Here is there's the birch. You can see the top's totally blown out of it and a bad connection at the base with just a little foliage on the tip. There's the red mulberry. These photos are by the applicant. Here's the new plan. It's an E-shaped building, central core, and then an actual reserved area for an additional school building. Huge stormwater facility, fire lane around the perimeter. And then you see the workings of a new student employee parking, and then the bus loops. There's the 27-inch mulberry, volunteer, but allowed to have actually a pretty decent shape to it. And singular trunk before it splits. Again, it is what it is. Staff recommends approval with the condition to plant 6.75 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the project site. Must plant 45 caliber inches of native trees for the protected trees removed. Must use 4-foot chain link fences, tree protection barricades, must have a certified arborist approved and treat the protected and grand trees to be preserved within 25 feet of any construction. Must plant a percentage of the mitigation trees as the next generation of live oaks on William Kennedy and Boone Hall Road frontages. And must provide landscape plan for staff review and approval. So I will go back to that exhibit that basically shows the mulberries in that loop. The birch is in the parking lot, which is an F, and then protected trees.
All right, thank you, Eric. I don't see any public comment for this one. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, is the applicant present? Is there anybody present that is against the applicant? Like to add anything to the if you just want to at least state your names.
Trey Litton with Forsberg Engineering, civil engineer on the project. Happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
Thank you. We will close this application for the public. It'll be open to the board for discussion. Questions?
The only thing I'd like to see is Eric did put as a condition, native plant material, and since the Morris rubra is a native plant material and it provides good wildlife with its berries. And I'd like to see in that number 2, out of the inches for 2 of the trees to be trees that produce, fruit as well as providing habitat.
Great. Like it. Number 2, so you want to modify that to fruit bearing, nut and or berry.
But you see the white mulberries all over the place for those that aren't tree people, and they're the invasive ones that you don't want. So the rubra are good. So, it's still been spread by birds and stuff.
Are you saying just 2 trees or a number of
2.
inches?
I would say 2 trees out of the 45.
Okay.
So I can amend that unless people want to talk more or have questions.
Well, Trey knows the comments coming that in school environments, I always encourage that it's an arboretum. It
Yep.
becomes an arboretum. It's an outdoor classroom, so good idea.
This was a middle school.
I think, wasn't Middleton High School?
It wasn't a high school,
Yeah,
it'll be a sixth grade academy.
and then it became something when they all went over to West Ashley.
Any other questions?
And that's tree, that is a special exception. It's in the bus loop area.
Yes, it is. Yep. Well, Trey can confirm. I forget if that's
It is.
student, is that car or bus?
That's the bus loop.
Bus loop.
We're constricted by the turning radius of buses. It has to be that wide. Okay.
And think about the constraints they have keeping the building going and building in the back and making all that work, so.
So this is middle school,
Sixth grade.
Sixth grade.
it's a lot of student parking for sixth graders.
I was thinking even my son got out of middle school without being able to drive, so.
What's the ratios? Do you have on that? What's your requirement? And
So it's for 900 students. And I don't know the exact ratio, but we needed something like 290 parking spots. So based off number of staff.
right, and
And students, and based off that, we're close to 300.
so you're not grossly over it.
No.
Requirement.
Yeah.
We'll just wait till there's self-driving cars and all the sixth graders will be driving to school. So. I'll make a motion. I make a motion, we move to approve the staff recommendations and we amend staff requirement number 2 to have it include that 2 of the native trees planted will be for wildlife food in the form of fruit or nut trees, fruit berry or nut trees.
All right. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All right, second by. Any discussion? All in favor, just say aye in favor.
I am
Aye in favor, any opposed? Motion's approved unanimously. 5-0, thank you. All right. What did that have to, special exception as well? Right. Not quite. She'll
Yeah.
put those in. So our next item is gonna be item B1. B1 is Clements Ferry Road and Travis Lane, Cainhoy Peninsula. The TMS numbers are 268-0000-005 and 039 in zone DR9. Request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 2 grand trees. And request a special exception from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 3 grand trees. Eric?
So we're going out to the peninsula, but not to Point Hope. These properties abut Point Hope. That was the application. It's at the intersection of Clements Ferry Road and Travis Lane. I'll talk about Travis Lane, and the access to these lots does not exist today, except for an access easement that Point Hope provided. Because their property kind of has like a little wedge that comes down. So as you see, the Point Hope is the Cainhoy Land and Timber HUD. And then you see that little triangular wedge that they own in that curve, Clements Ferry Road. These are kind of landlocked properties, but Travis Lane, and there's a home and there's a sign. And with the rebuild of Clements Ferry Road, they provided a curb cut. And the sign is there, and then it just kind of turns to dirt, which you'll see in a minute. But Cainhoy Land and Timber, Point Hope provided an access easement to these. We're going to probably upgrade that to a public street because they're proposing a fee simple subdivision with connection to Point Hope in the back. But anyway, very unusual DR9, totally forested. You can see that Google kind of just even has faint little lines there to access that house. I guess he has a business in the back or what have you. Here are the here's the series of exhibits. So you can see we're going to have a stub off of Clements Ferry, basically, then a 90-degree turn on King Point Hope property through the easement and then pick up into the subdivision. Here's the survey, a lot of contour, a lot of wetlands, very unusual. There's actually, I would call them ravines, if you will, with maybe a little stream at the base. You got some pretty significant topography here. So I have to admit, with my schedule, I didn't get on this site. I posted the site, but I didn't have time to get on, so I'm relying on the applicant's photos. And I'll continue. But you have two trees which are live oaks. One's a cluster of live oak, and based on the photo, one or two could be connected, and I'll talk about that. The other one is standalone, but it's pretty damaged, and then you have water oaks. And they're D's and C's. So there's the cluster number 10. Pretty significant tree protection zone. If it were to be one tree, then you have a water oak in the future public road. Then you have a 34-inch live oak, D, and you'll see the photo of that. Then tree 11, water oak. Tree 16, water oak. So there's the cluster of live oaks. You can see there's some scarring on the trunks. To me, it looks like there's quite a bit of soil between the trunks, but I want to consider it one tree and approve it or recommend approval with 50% of the DBA chances, because I think some could be not grand. But there's the 34-inch live oak. Half of it's dead, pretty significant scarring on it. There must have been a fire through this forest at one point. Then the water oak is full of just stubs and bad galls, and they don't have a photo of one tree. So that's going to be, so this is a nifty little thing that Seaman Whiteside has called Site Marker. They can be out in the field with their phone and pick up the trees, take notes. So again, photos. Arborist report, numbered. We'll concentrate on tree 16. It looks like it's a triple water oak, C, which is, you know, better than some that are on site, but fair. So I want to use this slide. I'm thinking that there's a possible shift in these units. Shift in, you know, we'll steal some space from a stormwater facility, but maybe gain one in the back, reroute some pipes, and you know, allow this tree to exist on the edge of the project. So staff recommends approval. Again, I use 50% of that total cluster to come up with this number. 106.5 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the project site. Use 4-foot chain link fence as tree protection. Must have a certified arborist prune and treat the area trees to be preserved within the limits of disturbance. Must study preserving tree 16 by shifting the residential units and reconfiguring the stormwater facilities as shown on the city exhibit. Must provide a landscape plan for staff review and approval.
Thank you, Eric. Start with, is there anybody present that is opposed to this application? And the applicant is present.
I'm located with Tim Whitebed, civil engineer on this project. A little additional background. So Eric mentioned subdivision. This has previously come forth to TRC as subdivision option. And due to that entrance easement not being a current right of way, this project is proceeding forward as a horizontal regime condo style project. So that road through the middle will be private rather than public. But otherwise, I can answer any questions if you have them.
All right, thank you. We will close the public portion of the meeting, this application, and open the board for questions and discussion.
I have a question for Hannah. Have those wetland crossings been approved? No, so this is the first step forward that we're taking after deciding to switch from the subdivision to the condo style. That's actually part of why I couldn't get to that last tree to take a picture was that big wetland crossing. Treacherous to get the pic, but those have not been approved yet.
So technically, it could change
Actually, we do
through
have
that
wet,
permitting
sorry, let
process.
me clarify. Yeah, we have wetland permits. We don't have stormwater approval, but we do have a wetland approval.
So go ahead, who was what?
No, never mind,
I'm sorry.
never mind.
And they're entitled to do, so it's going to be viewed as a multifamily project,
Right.
the horizontal regime. Therefore, they don't have to do a public road, but the city, I can go on record and say, will probably ask for a 50-foot public access easement for the future connectivity, and then obviously to Travis Lane.
Questions for the applicant? Seems like the photos definitely told them the picture of the trees, so there's a motion.
I'll move to approve the staff recommendations.
He's got a motion for approval. Was there a second to a motion?
Second.
No, second. Any discussion on the motion? Go to vote. All in favor, say aye in favor.
In favor.
Aye in favor, any opposed? It's approved unanimously, thank you. 5-0. And then
What's up, close? That was everything or not?
we got to go back to
Hey,
8-3, and I think I'm going to read it, and thank you all, and we'll defer. Yeah, for a second.
well, but isn't this the second time we've approved it?
Might have been on the last month's agenda. We
Yeah,
didn't have
that
more
was, it was canceled due to the storm.
Storm, that's right.
Okay, I was thinking, it's like, I don't remember seeing this before. All right, thank you.
So-
Yeah, all A's were previously
Okay,
advertised, but
okay.
canceled. due to-
B2, was that?
B2 was
Yeah.
withdrawn or deferred.
Yeah, deferred. B2's been deferred.
So we're gonna read A3, which is 706 West Harrison Road. Orland area, TMS number is 421-03-00011. Zoned SR1. Request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of one grand tree. Applicant is not present, so I believe that our group should be deferred with the application.
I make a motion to defer the application until the applicant is present.
Second.
Alright, so motion for deferral by Paula, second by Calvin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye in favor, any opposed? Motion's approved 5-0. That will conclude the meeting.
Yes, it does.
So I could have in fact made the 6:30 reservation